You're listening to Around Comics.
That's right. You are listening to Around Comics, episode 396. I am Brian Salazar. With me, as always, is Christopher Niesman.
Hola,
and
¿cómo está?
Tom the Caters.
Hi. Hello.
What's going on,
Hello.
gentlemen? Welcome back. Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of your favorite comic book podcast that once in a while actually talks about comic books.
Yeah, this is our new Thursday live stream.
That's right. We are switching to Thursdays. We were doing it on Tuesdays, but we're gonna for various reasons we are gonna switch moving forward.
We switched because of Steel Magnolias.
Yeah. Some of us, one of us in here is a huge live theater aficionado, and
Yes, one of us. And
hoity-toity tickets to the theater.
Yeah,
I wasn't gonna bring it up. I was gonna leave that all behind the scenes.
It was so my wife and I are subscribers to the Milwaukee Rep. We were Broadway and Chicago subscribers for years, and we both love live theater. And so we were able to go out and see our first live theater in over 18 months this week. And our season package is on Tuesday nights. And
Wow.
So
that
so
wow.
Yeah. Thanks a lot, Marta. Appreciate that. No problem. We've only been doing this for how many years? But
16.
fucking
Hey,
live.
used to be Friday nights. There was like a 5-6 year period where Marta knew not to plan anything on a Friday night.
No. Friday nights, now, it's Thursday, Tuesday, Thursday.
Yeah,
I could do I honestly any night.
Yeah.
I curl Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So curling schedule.
I could do Fridays now.
Fridays, going to a comic book store. Those were good days. We would go to the comic book store.
Yeah.
I can't believe that is a little bizarre that we did that for so long. Every Friday night, there we were, and just at the comic, and other people showed up, which was even weirder. Other people would show up too.
Now we just have Wayne chiming in on the comments.
Yeah.
He says you look like John Byrne.
We've entered the John Byrne phase of
the distinguished beard. That is a fine beard you have, though.
It came in pretty good. I need that just for men. Wash that. It
does. It is aging you a bit. I feel like you look older than you are with the beard.
Yeah, you look old. You look
old AF.
Old as shit with that beard, man.
Yeah, it's like
shave that thing.
I don't know,
golden age, Chris.
We'll see. I may I'll get through the new year with it. I'm going for the Santa Claus look.
You do look Canadian, though. You do look, it does have a Canadian effect for sure.
Connects me up a little bit.
Yeah, curling and the beard and I hope you have plenty of flannels.
Oh yeah.
Dude,
I'm totally sconied up here, man. I got I got
Are you going to be ice fishing soon? Are you going to do that?
I do have a friend that after we go to our next bond spiel, he wants to take me out ice fishing. That he has, but the thing is, he goes, you can ice fish in several places, like within a half hour of Milwaukee. He goes like 4.5 hours away to ice fish.
That's where the good fishing is.
This is a man who doesn't want to spend time with his family.
This is very true.
That was always my perception of ice fishing growing up, was like this. I'm doing this activity that no one in my family in their right mind would be like, I want to go with you. Yeah, like
I'm gonna go.
How bad is your family?
A hole in the water.
You want to come out and sit with me on a lake in the middle of winter in a little shack? It's like, I don't know, I'll pass. All right, well, I'll see you.
See you
later.
I've never done it. I have been invited a couple of times to go. I've never have, but there is the scenes from Grumpy Old Men when they're out on the ice fishing. There's something about that is, I don't know, fascinating to some degree, but I hate the fucking cold, so I can't imagine sitting out on a block of ice.
You need to have like one of those premium ice the like
Sheds.
shanty experiences, right? Like a real glamping
Yes,
style.
I'd have to have it, set up with heat and yeah, a
TV.
big screen TV, satellite.
Normal fishing is already like barely an activity.
Yeah.
And ice fishing takes that to a whole new level where you don't even have to fucking hold the rod. You just sit there and you're just like, I'm near it and like whatever.
When the flag goes,
that's it. You barely do anything.
Drinking. Fishing is a drinking sport anyway.
It's a drinking activity.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
I was it's funny you mentioned that because I just started watching the reboot of, or I guess the return of Dexter. My wife and I were big
God. Okay.
And so we decided to check out the new season, whatever it is, the whole new thing.
Yeah, it's not a re. It's
no.
I mean, it's
no,
the
no,
same.
It's a continuation.
It's a continuation of the previous series.
It's 10 years later. It is the same. Yeah, it's 10 years after the last episode of the last season, and it's a continuation. But he's no longer in Miami, which is where he was at for the entirety of the original series. He's now in like upper state New York, somewhere like it's called like Iron Lake or something. It's middle of fucking nowhere, New York. And he lives in a cabin, kind of secluded, and he lives on a lake, and he was ice fishing and there's a hole and he just sets it. And like I said, there's a flag there, and he just waits for the fucking flag to pop up. And I'm like, why does anyone fish? If you can just fish like that, like why ever cast a fishing pole?
Out with nature, man.
Upstate New York's creepy. It's a creepy place.
It is.
I've driven through, like the thing that's weird is like
Buffalo. Oof.
Yeah, I've been to Buffalo.
Me too.
But like when you drive through the Midwest and the highways, like the exit numbers line up to miles, right? So like exit 28 is usually roughly 4 miles from exit 24, right? So like you growing up, I've always, like you can kind of conceptualize the distance you are from someplace, before there was Google Maps and stuff, right? Sure. But like the highways in upstate New York, they don't follow that. They're just sequentially numbered, right?
No matter how far apart they are.
No matter how far apart they are, right? So exit 28 could be a huge distance from exit 27.
That sounds like trouble.
Yeah, and if you don't have you don't have a map, or you don't have Google Maps, this was before that was like prevalent. Like you're kind of like, it's unsettling because like there aren't that many exits. Like it's fucking dark as shit. Everything's old as hell. Like everything's like incredibly old. It's very dark and it's disorienting, right? Because you don't you're just kind of like,
what was that?
Am I, like, I don't know where my exit is. I don't know how far it is until I get there,
What was that terrible Chevy Chase movie? Which I have a soft spot for, but it's a terrible movie.
But Trouble?
Yeah,
in that great Chevy Chase movie featuring Digital Underground.
Yes, that's fantastic.
Dan Aykroyd,
Dan Aykroyd with the dick-nosed judge, and that's what I think of.
Movie so many times when I don't know why. Like there was a Twitter prompt when someone was like, "What movie did you watch more than 5 times when you're a kid that you shouldn't have watched?" And Nothing But Trouble. For whatever reason, we watched that movie like 1,000 times, even though it is like creepy.
There is something fascinating about it. There is something like it's kind of almost like a horror movie, but it's a bad comedy, and I have to say
it's how did this movie get made movie.
But I love it. Like not love it, but like you said,
so unsettling.
There's like everything about it is weird and odd, and
it's like not quite funny, and it's not quite scary. It's like this weird in between, and like even Chevy Chase's character is not likable. Like it's sort of like this weird
It is. It takes a bunch of swings and misses, but they're really kind of fascinating swings.
It's
for
very strange.
bizarre-
Yeah.
But I hadn't thought about that movie in a while, but the reason I thought about it was the judge from and not to bring anything into the judge from the Kyle Rittenhouse case.
Oh god, yeah.
He just as soon as I saw the guy, I'm like, holy shit, is that Dan Aykroyd?
You can imagine him asking for like the wiener, the sausage on the train that comes out.
I pictured Dan Aykroyd in that film. And
You think I'm joking whenever I tell you outside of Milwaukee and Madison, Wisconsin is Arkansas.
No, no. Anywhere outside of, I think, a city, pretty much it gets.
Yeah.
It's not. But until you've been to rural Arkansas, then it's really, really bad.
Yeah.
But
hey,
all right,
what's
enough about that.
If we want to talk about TV and movies, we can do that on Sunday on ACTV. Which you
Format police. God,
which you can get by checking out our Patreon exclusives at patreon.com/roundcomics.
I'm really not good at this, but here you go. Join our Patreon channel, patreon.com, please.
Exclusive content.
I think you said we had a Patreon shout out. We had a new patron.
I think I did that last week, didn't I?
Okay, you did that last week. Okay,
yeah, I did.
Exclusive content. You want more talk about TV, but you want to hear about how I might be on sometime, and then it's like Sunday, and I'm like, I'm watching a Packer game, and it's not gonna happen. Or like, it's like Packers play at 3:25. Packers playing a lot of afternoon games. Yeah, I'm not gonna drop what I'm doing to talk about nothing but trouble. That's what this is for.
I don't know.
That's what this is for.
Man,
when we start our Nothing But Trouble podcast, nothing but talking about trouble.
Nothing but talking about
trouble, where we just deep dive into nothing but trouble.
How many episodes do you think we could get of just that movie? Like,
God,
it would be fascinating to see how far we could dig into
Nothing But Trouble.
You could rabbit hole that, for sure.
Interview Dan Aykroyd.
Oh, I bet we could get him. I mean,
as long as you gave him time to talk about like UFOs and shit.
Yeah, for
like
sure.
You'd have to give him time to his weird stuff.
It was kind of like
Neil, push his vodka.
When we had Neil Adams on, and we kind of had to give him time to talk about the Hollow Earth.
Yeah. It's the trade.
Yeah,
it is what it is. The barter system.
Well, Steve Rude and he had to talk about Bruce Lee.
Yeah.
So
that was a wild one.
That was one talking about whenever we were back at Dark Tower Comics, and so we would sit around this table and we would actually phone people in and put them on like a little Bluetooth speaker with a mic on the speaker. I mean, this is like 2006, right? It was
prehistoric.
It was by today's standards, absolutely prehistoric. And I remember us listening to Steve Rude tell us this story about how he just like met some guys at Bruce Lee's gravesite and they did karate together. And Tom leans over and he's like, "This is the craziest fucking interview I have ever heard."
It was the best. It was the best interview.
It was wild. I loved it, but it was a wild.
Speaking of, you can call us and leave a voicemail at 312-967-6282 if you'd like to leave us a voicemail. Don't call in live because we won't answer. And we tried that; it didn't work so well. So but
it was fine. It was fine. It was nice talking.
No, it wasn't his fault. It was my fault. It was a technical issue.
It's a lot of moving pieces. It's hard.
Yeah. I remember. All right. Well, hey, let's talk about some comics. I know that Tom had some stuff that he read that I believe that we all read. Do we want to jump off with Robin and Batman?
Sure.
I think we all read that, right?
I did. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. Jeff Lemire, Dustin Wynn.
Which
it was good.
Did they do Descender together? Was that the creative team for Descender? I think
you're right. I think you might be correct on that.
Yeah. This is not the first time that they have worked together on the comic booking.
and the making
Yeah.
of comic books.
Yeah. So this is a black label title from DC, and really focusing more on a young Dick Grayson as he is in his training with Bruce / Batman, and is trying to get out in the field, and Bruce is like, yeah, you're not ready. So it's like a weird a kind of coming of age story with vigilantes.
Yeah, and the art was awesome.
Yeah.
There's this great.
Mwah.
It's chef's kiss. I don't know. There's a really good. There's a couple scenes where the art, like there's a scene in the book where Dick's kind of engaged in stopping like a meat truck robbery, which is funny. And Batman shows up, and like Batman getting out of the car, like he's just like this big billowing like scary figure, and it was so cool to kind of, I don't know, like the way that Dustin Nguyen sort of captures like how a kid would see Batman, or like what that feels like. It was pretty cool, and it was like really drawn throughout the book with sort of like seeing things from like a kid's point of view. It almost felt like
Yeah.
Killer Croc is huge and scary, and Batman is kind of scary at times and sort of intimidating and like terrifying in his own right. And like it was cool, and it was also it was interesting to like Batman. There's been a fucking million Batman stories. Like this isn't the first time. Yeah, not the first time you've seen a book from Dick Grayson's point of view. It's all been done before. It's all been done before with Batman, but which isn't a bad thing. It's just true when the character has like 8 million stories. Like, what are you going to find that someone hasn't tried before? But still finding a way to like, it definitely felt fresh and like a little different from like other things I've read from Robin's point of view, and it's a testament to Jeff Lemire and Dustin Nguyen to kind of find that somehow.
There was a little wrinkle that I haven't seen in Bat books before, and that, I mean, there's 20 Bat books that come out a month, so they could have done this before. I'd never seen that Killer Croc was a sideshow attraction at the circus where the Flying Graysons died.
Spoiler.
Well, yeah, we're talking about the book.
Yeah, I don't know if it's ever come up before, if that's a new thing. I mean,
yeah, and that pulled on the heartstrings a little bit.
Yep. And it's going to be interesting to see where that story goes, because they have a meeting earlier in the book for the first time, and he seems very interested in the costume. So it'll be interesting to see like what the history there is. Did he have some sort of history with his mother and father, and what that's going to play, how that's going to play. I like the book a lot. It is very pretty. It is a emotional story. You get this sort of perspective from Dick Grayson of what it would be like to be a kid in this position, and it's not necessarily what he assumed it maybe was going to be, and what you would think a kid might think it'd be this great thing. Hey, oh my God, I'm going to be Batman's sidekick. I'm going to be this superhero. It's going to be great. But the reality of it is not necessarily that great, and it isn't necessarily what a newly orphaned, whatever 12-year-old needs. But the only problem I have with it kind of is it seems like we're seeing more and more of this idea of like, Batman sort of being projected in this
Batman
way.
Being an asshole.
Batman being an asshole, and Batman
yeah.
being this bad person that is forcing, kids. And it's not the first time anyone has ever sort of presented that as the character. And I get it. In reality, in real life, Batman's a lunatic. And you would be an absolute monster to, take this kid in and then try and turn him into some sort of weapon against criminals in your, insane, obsessive war against the people that killed your parents. It would be absolutely monstrous. But this isn't reality. We kind of have to get over that conceit and just be
I think what you're getting at is that it's always been hinted. I mean, going back to DKR and Frank Miller, the lunatic that recruits children to fight this war of his. We've been kind of going over that ground over and over again.
Yeah.
But now it's almost like it's the default.
Right. It's sort of like this thing of like Batman's an asshole. And he's we see it in the Titans. We see it in, like you said, Dark Knight Returns. We see it in more and more. And it just seems to be this thing of like we're projecting boomerism on Batman now, and sort of that sort of thing. And it's like, okay, I understand that from a certain perspective, but also and one of the things I think it feels like what Lemire's doing here, which I do appreciate, is a little bit different twist on it in the sense that Batman maybe doesn't really know what the fuck he's doing. It's not, it's more about like, he is an unsure parent. He doesn't know how to raise this kid. He doesn't know if this is the right thing or the wrong thing to do. He's trying to do what he, to his best, but he's making mistakes along the way. Hopefully, ultimately, it doesn't sort of play out as this horrible thing. With Dick, we know it didn't, but I think this is, this goes back to Jason Todd. It's like Jason Todd was, Dick Grayson, however things played out between him and Bruce, he moved on, he became Nightwing, and say what you will, whether or not that's a healthy thing, but he still has a relationship with Bruce, and, he's a relatively productive member of society, whereas Jason Todd was the mistake that Bruce made. You know what I mean? He should have never tried to replicate what he maybe got away with Dick. But still, once again, it's like, okay, are we going to look at this from the perspective of, child psychology in in 2021 of how to raise a child? No.
How much reality do you want? And it's fun to play around with, but it's,
I don't know. I guess at some point I just get tired of sort of the idea of like, Batman's a shitty, ward.
I think part of it too that, I mean the unsure thing is part of it too, because you see it from both characters in this book where like they don't really get the other person. Like Bruce doesn't really get Dick, and like he thinks he's doing something good for him. There's sort of a that moment where costume. Batman, makes him the costume, right, that he thinks he wants, right? And Dick thinks that Batman's testing him by telling him not to go out. And like they obviously don't actually get each other at all, and like don't really understand what this is. But I mean, I think there's definitely I think this is true in a lot of comics actually, is like I think there is a current in the world now where I do think people have an anger towards an older generation that you might perceive as Batman, of like
or Superman, like, or whoever
of
like these legacy characters
of like, because in reality we're dealing with a world where maybe you could perceive that perhaps the generation before you kind of royally fucked things up and like wouldn't like can't admit it and can't like wrap their head around it, and like that can get transposed onto someone like Batman. And it is like, you look at it and you go like, you see it in a lot of books, and you're right, it's like Batman hasn't solved any of these problems. Batman hasn't like done it, it's like I do think it's like a current of just like, I think it's a reflection of like reality and like how a lot of people feel about even going back to Dark Knight Returns and like the treatment of Superman, of like a little bit of that distrust of like oh sure, okay, whatever, like
whatever, Boy Scout.
Yeah, like, Mr. I'm gonna save the world, like, you didn't, right? The world fucking sucks. And like
It always
you can't
has. It
yeah, it
always
always has,
will.
right?
As
Yeah,
long as
yeah, yeah.
people are on the planet, it's gonna suck.
Yeah, yeah. And I think it's yeah,
no
I think
generation is gonna fix it. Like the people,
yeah,
the generation before you is gonna fuck it up, and you're gonna fuck it up for the generation after
yeah,
you.
yeah,
You're not gonna
yeah.
fix it. You know.
Yeah. But yeah, there's definitely a current of that in there. But it yeah, it was good.
It was
It's
good
good
though.
comics.
Yeah, it was good.
Good
Like I said,
comics.
I think I'm hoping the difference is that, like we said, it seems like it's more about this miscommunication between, a father and son, that which is very typical of I think any generation. It's like father and son. There's a moment where it's like you don't understand each other anymore. I'm too old to remember what it was like to be a kid, and you're not old enough to understand what it's like to be an adult. And that generation gap is what you have here with Batman and Robin, or Robin and Batman, I should say. And that's what you're portraying. He's portraying it pretty well. I just hope it doesn't sort of lean further into that sort of, Batman's a dick kind of thing, because to me it's just boring at this point.
And what is kind of neat is that it's a Black Label book, so we don't know what the resolution is going to be. I mean, at the end of this, Dick may walk away and chart out another path for his life. There's nothing that is going to force them to be that dynamic duo by the end of the third issue of this.
I mean, that does remind me a little bit of like why I sort of liked Grant Morrison's Batman, where Dick Grayson was Batman, because he did such a good job of showing how different a Dick Grayson Batman would be from sort of like the Bruce Wayne-ish Batman, of like, Dick's a little better with people. with other people.
More of a people person.
More of a people person. More, like a little more patient, and perhaps, like fear isn't the first thing that the first tool he goes to like deal with every problem, not just like bad guys, but like, like other superheroes. Like his inclination isn't like, I'm going to intimidate this person into doing this thing for, with me. Like,
I love the relationship between he and Damian was great.
Yeah.
In that.
Brother. Yeah. I did really enjoy, there were a bunch of great scenes in this, but the one that I really liked was when Dick is sort of, had it, and he's going to go out even though Bruce told him not to. And he makes the Robin costume, and he's like, I know it should probably be darker and something, but screw it. I'm going to make it bright and shiny because it's going to piss him off. And that's just something a kid would do. Yeah. Like, that's just absolutely, I'm going to do the opposite of what he wants, just to
in your
annoy
face,
him.
boomer.
Yeah. But I did also like when we first see him, he's sort of in a Nightwing-ish kind of costume. It's blue, and the mask even looks a little more Nightwing-ish than Robin, which was kind of neat. There were a bunch of great just like little nods to things, and as always, Jeff Lemire crafts a great story,
and he works with great artists.
That's a key, right? Like that's you can't underestimate that.
Yep. Lemire's books are always peanut butter and jelly. He's working with great artists and telling great stories. So yeah, he's in that list that it's like, oh yeah, I'm gonna pick that up. I'm gonna read that. Of the list of creators out there. He's a don't miss guy. I got one I want to talk about real quick.
All right.
Did either of you guys? This is from Boom Studios. Which we used to love Boom back in the day. Did anyone read Regarding the Matter of Oswald's Body?
I started to.
I did not.
You did not like it. You did not like it.
I don't know if I didn't like it or I just wasn't in the mood at the time.
I can see that.
But I did not finish it. So either way, go ahead though.
I love me a good JFK conspiracy theory book. And the setup for this is it almost had a little bit of 100 Bullets vibe for me, of the recruitment of these kind of down and out grifter types. But you know, it starts in 1981 with what appears to be a sheriff overseeing the exhuming of Lee Harvey Oswald's body, because they wanted to disprove the conspiracy theories that Oswald that Jack Ruby didn't kill Oswald. It's not really his body there, that Oswald was shipped off somewhere as a reward for killing JFK. And then the sheriff says,
which is all true.
Yeah,
could be. And so the sheriff is like, this is really going to complicate things. And then it goes to 1963 in the weeks leading up to the assassination. And there is a shadow agent this is very much a getting the team together first issue, where there's the shadow agent who is recruiting these down and out, kind of grifter types, or, I won't get into each one, but each person has a reason why they would kind of leave their life and go be a part of some like shadow organization. And so appears to be putting together the hit team that is going to take out JFK, or Oswald. It's more centered around Lee Harvey Oswald. Anyway, it's stupid, silly fun. I enjoyed it. I thought it's Luca Casalinguida on art. It's written by Christopher.
A nice Irish guy.
Yeah, nice Irish name. But yeah, I definitely piqued my interest enough for issue 2.
I'll have to go back to it. I said, I think I may have just been annoyed. There was something else conspiracy related that I was just in, and I'm just sometimes
you're just sick of conspiracy. It's leaking too much into the real world.
Yeah, well, that's the problem. Is I
there's
used
a
to
there's a little QAnon in this. Yeah, I
used to like conspiracy theories because it was fun and it was just sort of like you could laugh at it, and it's like, oh, that's an interesting thought. But now it's like
a wrecking our lives.
Yeah, fucking,
now there's people that really believe that JFK Jr. is going to run for vice president with Trump. Okay,
there's two different guys.
Listen, I'll vote for him if he comes back from the dead. I will vote for him. But
so fucking weird.
Yeah,
but yeah,
I get that. When I hear conspiracy theory, I'm just like, oh God.
I get a little. I just I used to like it more, but I've gotten, I guess, defensive about it now. It's just like, ugh.
I used to like listening to like old episodes of Art Bell, because I used to love Coast to Coast when I was a kid. And now when I listen to him, I'm just like, oh fuck.
How many people did this fuck up? How many people did this? How many people did Art Bell create that ended up at the Capitol building? Like,
yeah, I've thought about that.
There is a crossover element there. There's some crossover.
I used to like. It's funny. I used to never. Growing up in the 80s in high school, like I listened to heavy metal. I played Dungeons and Dragons. I was into like paranormal stuff and conspiracy theories and all that kind of thing. And I would scoff and laugh and make fun of anyone that would like be like, the idea that stuff was ruining someone's mind or turning them demented or turning them. And now it's like, oh
God, yeah.
Oh shit!
They had a point.
Oh no! Conspiracy theories are rotting people's brains.
But it's not kids. It's fucking middle-aged soccer moms,
boomers on Facebook. Getting fed QAnon videos. Yeah, I've thought a lot about how many former Art Ball listeners stormed the Capitol.
Oh, you know.
Remote viewed their way into the to the Capitol.
Remote viewed.
I'm just like, oh no. Because when I listen to it now as an adult living in the current world, I mean, I'm listening to this in like the carefree 90s.
Sure.
Where it's like, oh, this guy recorded a Bigfoot. It's so weird.
You can laugh
right?
at it.
And now I'm just like, someone's making like a video like Bigfoot. Bigfoot is actually kidnapping children to give to the, it's just like, oh God.
Now the problem is I used to be able to laugh at it. Now I sit there and go, well, what is this guy's life like? Like, who is he fucking up?
No.
Oh God.
And why is Bigfoot a part of the gay agenda?
Yeah, it's just like, oh no, what's happening? Stop. Yeah, so thanks, guys. You ruined Art Bell, which I can't even listen to old episodes anymore because I'm just like, oh no.
I'm right there with you, Tom. I'm right there with you. Oh well. The good old days. The good old days when conspiracy theories did not turn people into radical
complete lunatics with barely any like connection to reality
or science or
well, they have done their own research.
There's like two guys that people think are JFK Jr. Like there's two competing JFK's Jr. now, like this is like, what the fuck is happening?
I don't know.
It's wild.
I was what was I looking at something about Elon Musk, and like I was just reading an article where he was saying we have to get to Mars because of nuclear Armageddon. Like he's really trying to leave the planet. Like he's not just trying to like visit. He's legitimately trying. And this is the richest man on the planet.
I'm glad you said richest, because I always remind people Elon Musk doesn't build the cars. He didn't invent electric cars. Like,
I don't even know.
A rich guy.
He's a rich guy. People think he's a genius.
No,
he's just
rich.
He
writes checks. He writes checks.
He's a rich nerd.
Yeah.
That is afraid of everything and is trying to get off the planet. He
is like a sort of like a hot topic. Like I wouldn't surprise me if he bought the Hot Topic name and reopened like a bunch of stores. So like all kinds of like edgelord dudes can go hang. Like it's just like this guy. He didn't invent electric cars. He's just a rich guy.
I don't. Yeah.
Anyway, back to fiction.
Yeah, sorry.
Sorry, everyone. We just had to let the real world spill into. He's not Reed Richards, guys. All right. like if we're depending on him, like we're fucked. He's not Reed Richards. He's not figuring out.
Nor is he Tony Stark.
Yeah, not Tony Stark either.
No. He's a dude that, like, remember he got hair plugs.
Funky Flashman.
He got hair plugs.
Yeah,
because he wanted to look better.
Yeah.
He's
Stanley. He's Stanley.
He is. He's a fucking huckster. He's a fucking salesman and a fucking hustler, and it's what all these guys are.
He's a couple decent business ventures away from having been the Fire Festival organizer. Right.
Funky. We live in a universe. We live in whatever Earth where all the people that live on this Earth are waiting for Funky Flashman to help them escape catastrophe. We don't have superheroes. God. We just have super rich Funky Flashman.
Oh yeah, we're fucked. Yeah, we're absolutely fucked.
All right, I read a book. Well, I started to read a book.
Okay. About Harvey Oswald's body.
No, it's
Oh,
the History of Science Fiction, a graphic novel adventure.
Does it talk about foundation?
Yes, it
Is
talks
that
about
where
everything.
is
I mean,
that where you stopped?
he couldn't get through the foundation part. He
Yeah,
he
I
probably
kinda did.
got
Damn,
two
dude.
panels into it and just
Oh,
checking it
God.
That
out.
is shit. This is boring.
No, luckily this is actually entertaining because it's small chunks of
Oh, okay,
of
good.
that stuff. Like everything is sort of, foundation is covered in one page. Like they kind of cover. But it was really interesting. It's a humanoids book. It's on Hulu, which is where I found it.
Nice.
I mean, sorry, Hulu Hoopla, which is where I found it, and it's by Xavier Dolo, and I'm gonna murder this name. I don't know how to pronounce it. Djibril, Djibril Morissette fan. Morissette fan. Djibril Morissette fan. That's the artist. And it's a rather long, but it's a complete history of science fiction. And it's really done in a fun way. It starts with sort of a prologue with this farmhouse, and a X-wing fighter lands in front of this farmhouse, and Robbie the robot, and I don't know and another robot, two robots get out of it. I don't know who the other robot is. I think it might be a Doctor Who character. Maybe it's like sort of this skinny robot who looks like he's wearing a bow tie and a vest. I don't know who he is.
I think it's the Metropolis.
Oh, okay. All right.
You saw that it looked lame as fuck, and you're like, it must be a Doctor Who robot.
That's what I was thinking. Yeah.
Oh, and the dice.
I assumed it was fucking British.
So if people over the last 16
Poindexter robot came out.
Yeah.
That must be
Some
from Doctor
fucking
Who.
dork robot.
if people over the last 16 years haven't figured out that Sal's favorite pastime is shitting on anything that I have found joy in my life.
I really wasn't. That Tom read into that. I didn't know who he was. I saw the bow tie.
This robot look like a nerd. This was,
Why? I mean, come on. Who puts
Was that
a
a
fucking
fucking
bow
pallet?
tie?
yeah. I mean, yeah.
Who puts a bow tie on a fucking robot?
If someone told me there was a robot on Doctor Who that wore a bow tie, I'd be like, yeah,
that makes sense, right?
And I would be like, yeah, that's happened.
Yeah.
All right, so anyway, these two robots get out, and basically they're trying to find out their own history, like where they came from, and they ask this other robot that's sort of this floating brain thing, and it starts to tell them the history of science fiction, and it's fun. It starts off with like sort of giving you this brief explanation of science fiction, and then going into the history of it, starting with stuff even before like Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, and but kind of that being the definitive starting point of science fiction, but then giving you an idea of things that that touched on science fiction even before that, whether it was like Ulysses and Jules Verne and stuff like things like that, and then it just sort of goes through the entire history of science fiction, whether it's books, whether it's movies, TV, and it just kind of builds on it, and it stops and spends more time on some of the more important aspects or history parts of it, and then some things it sort of groups in together and gives you a more brief explanation, but it's really fun, and stuff that I didn't know or didn't think about, and sort of the connections that it made to other things, and it would give you little tidbits about like the creators, the authors, and that sort of stuff. I'm only about, I'd say, a third of the way through it so far, and I've really enjoyed it so far, just sort of like getting this education on the entirety of science fiction and their perspective on it too. I mean, it's not a dry history lesson. It's fun and it's illustrated, which is really nice. It's beautifully illustrated. So it was really cool. Like I said, I don't have a ton to say about it just because it's,
it's a history book.
It's a history book. I mean, if you're interested in the history of science fiction, I would say give it a look, because it's very interesting. And there's a lot, like I said, there's a lot of stuff in there that I didn't know about or think about or even necessarily connect with science fiction. And then they do like interesting things like thematic elements of science fiction, like an elemental table where it's like Cyrano de Bergerac and Jules Verne and Edgar Allan Poe, and sort of how all these things connect together. And it's somebody spent a shitload of fucking time researching this and putting this whole thing together. It's pretty amazing, just in the sense of I can't imagine how much time they must have spent putting it together and writing it, and then let alone drawing it. But it's really, really good. And it gets into comic. There's I fast forwarded a little bit, just sort of looking what it gets into, but obviously pulp novels, and it gets into movies and Cthulhu, and yes, Foundation and all of Isaac Asimov stuff is in here, and but it also gets into superheroes and Superman at some point, Action Comics, and all every aspect of science fiction that you could imagine it touches on. So really kind of cool. It reminded me a little bit about like how much comics were used at one time for stuff more like this. Like whether it was educational materials in the army, or like all the stuff that what's his name? I can't think of his name off the top of my head now. Eisner. Like all the stuff he was doing for the military, all those instructional things, or a lot of the sort of religious stuff that was coming out of EC Comics before it was EC Comics, and more history stuff and educational things that comics don't really get used that much for any longer. And it's a really great medium for that stuff, for educational kind of things. I think it makes it way easier to digest.
Where I'm seeing it now commercially a little bit more are cookbooks.
Oh, really?
I have a couple cookbooks. Ryan Dunleavy, if you remember Ryan, he does with history of comic book comics. With Fred Van Lenny. He did a cookbook with a New York restaurant called Dirt Candy, and it's basically a cookbook as a comic book. And I have a Korean cookbook that is a comic book format.
Oh, there you
go. There's a restaurant in Chicago called Fat Rice. Their cookbook is full of comics, basically, and showing how to put the dishes together. So that's one place I have seen like educational comics is in cookbooks now.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you have it. Yeah, so pretty cool. And like I said, it's on Hoopla if people want to check it out. Otherwise, I think you can order it off of Comixology or at your local comic store. Maybe.
There you go. I can't wait to see what they wrote about Foundation.
Well, I'm sure it's.
I think this is the last episode.
I fell asleep.
You fell asleep in that one. I think this is last week of that series. So I think this is the last episode of the season.
Foundational.
Oh, no.
Yep.
Oh no.
I know, right?
What will I do without it? I'll catch up to it.
Stay awake. Be up all night.
You're both terrible, and I hate you.
I went and saw Dune. Speaking of science fiction, I saw it again in theaters.
Saw it on the IMAX.
Yeah.
Oh, how was that?
It was actually worse than watching it at home. Well, not worse. It was different. It was fun to go to the movies. It's the first movie I've been to in I don't know how long, before COVID. I haven't been to the movies, so it's the first movie I've actually gone to the movies. But I think I was telling you this, Chris. Like, the TV I have is like the blacks are so good. That's one of the things with like those OLED TVs, that it's not muddy, like it's perfect blacks. And so I'm at the movie theater and I'm watching. I'm like, why is this so fucking dark? Like I can't see shit because the blacks just are, everything sort of gets,
Muddy.
muddy. And I'm like, I couldn't see things that I remember seeing at home. So it was like, oh, I don't know that I want to go see some movies. My TV
Make
looks
this movie as good as make it look as good as my TV, and I'll come to the theater.
But it was fun. I mean, it's definitely a movie worth seeing on a big screen just because it's such a cool, visually. I think they did a great job with that movie, and I gotta say, I'm continually impressed with Timothy Chalamet. He's a really good actor.
Yeah, you don't want him to be, but he is.
Yeah, he's such a goofy looking kid, but I expect him to be
Chalamet cast. We should get him on. Let's get him on.
Chalamet.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah,
let's book Chalamet.
Yeah,
let's book Chalamet.
Get on the phone. Somebody get on.
I'll send him a message right now.
Tom, you read one that I do want to talk about. I think we've got just about enough time to sneak it in. What's the furthest place from here?
I
read that. I also read The Thing.
Whichever one you want to talk about. Sal, have you not read What's the Furthest Place from Here?
I don't even know what that is. I'm not familiar with it.
I'll do both quickly. It's from Image Comics. What's the Furthest Place from Here? It's by Tyler Boss and Matthew Rosenberg, and it's takes place in sort of like a post-apocalyptic world where it's just kids. There's no adults around. There's something bad about becoming an adult that we don't know yet. And all these kids live above like a record store. This is where this group hangs out. And like, it's got like a little bit of the Warriors and like a little bit of like, it's like an interesting mix of stuff with like a interesting tone to it. And, it's kind of funny in parts and like, kind of violent in other parts.
A little bit of Lord of the Flies mixed in there,
All the kids have to pick a record to like represent them, and one kid picks like Hall & Oates, and like the leader of the group like is making fun of him about
like, no, go back.
No, you can't pick Hall & Oates. But yeah, it was good. It was interesting. I didn't know what to think of it before I picked it up. It's in the fine tradition of comics whose titles are now full sentences. A lot of those these days, right? And it was pretty cool, and I definitely will keep reading it. And I also I read The Thing #1 by Walter Mosley, who's the
crime
author, crime writer. Yeah. And that was also pretty cool. The artist for The Thing. I got it. It's Tom Riley. The Thing. I always love The Thing. Like, he's one of my favorite Marvel characters, but to me, like, he sort of embodies like what sort of the Marvel hero is all about. Like he
tragic, a little tragic, sad.
And like. But what's really cool is, there's this really great scene in it where part of it is that Ben Grimm, he gets on an online dating thing at some point because he's having some problems with his girlfriend, and they're like asking him questions about himself. And they ask him like, what race, what's your, are you white? Or, like they're just asking about himself. He's like non-white. And like, it was interesting because I was looking up stuff about it, and Walter Mosley, he talks about, when he was a kid, and he's an African-American author, talks about like The Thing to him stood out as a character because he wasn't white. Like he was kind of scary and people avoided him, and like his mere presence made people uncomfortable. And like as a kid, he understood that, of like which I thought was really interesting. I never really thought of The Thing in that way. So that I thought that was kind of interesting thing. And you can feel it a little bit in this book, but it's not like a heavy-handed,
Yeah,
this is a
done
message
really well.
comic about the Thing. It's just kind of nicely woven in about, all the stuff that you love about the Thing, right? The Thing he's a hero, and he's always going to do, Ben Grimm's always going to come through, right? And he might like bitch and moan about it and be sad about his like lot in life, but in the end, like the Thing shows up and does what needs to be done. That's what makes him a hero.
Because it's
And,
clobbering time.
It's clobbering time, right? Yeah, and Tom Riley does a really good job. I just love a well-drawn Thing. He's just such a great comic book character, which is always the challenge when it's in a movie and you're always like, the Thing doesn't look that cool. Because the Thing he's a comic book character.
Cool. Yeah, in the comic book, he looks so cool.
It looks fucking rad, and you can do every artist can have like their interpretation of exactly what the Thing kind of looks like.
I'd like him to bring the
like
cigar back. They need to bring, since this is like trying to embrace that era of
the classic era.
Classic Thing. Yeah. And so it was cool, and I always just love a good Thing story.
I was surprised when I heard that Walter Mosley was writing the Thing. I was like, what? For those that aren't familiar with it, he wrote Devil in a Blue Dress, which was made in the Denzel Washington movie. But the character Easy Rollins, which is Denzel Washington character, he's got a bunch of books with that character. But I was like, what? Why is he writing the Thing? That seems so weird. But now that you explained sort of that, the idea, the Thing was always that he was an outcast. He was even in his own family where everyone else could pass for just human. Their powers went away when they wanted them to, so they could just walk around and they were beautiful. It's like Sue and Johnny especially were like beautiful people, and Reed was a good looking, normal looking, but Ben was this monster. He was this creature and didn't he didn't fit in, and I could, like you said, I never thought about that really directly like that, but now seeing someone say that, it's like, oh yeah, that makes perfect sense. Like to have an affinity or have a connection with that character because you feel like you're an outcast or some sort of, or you're made to feel that way. But Ben Grimm is just one of the great superhero characters of all time, and this captures all those things. Although it's always whenever there's a story about Ben and Alicia not getting along, it breaks my heart because it's like just the great there's not really many romances in comics that I ever really cared about, but like that one, and sort of the only other one I can even think about that has ever made me give a shit is like the Logan and Jean Grey that they didn't have, that the idea that's always affected me in one way or another whenever it's sort of used. But whenever Alicia and Ben don't,
it's like, no,
Ben, why did you do it, you dummy?
You dumb. The comic has a great scene where the Thing's in jail with Hercules. Looks like a great, like a really funny. A real funny moment of that. So it was just a really well done, really cool looking Thing story. And I should say Where's the Furthest Place From Here, also really gorgeous book.
I gotta check that out.
It's really good. It's really good.
It sounds really good.
I got about halfway in, and I was just like, what the fuck is going on in this book? And then they kind of continue to build the world, and you're like, oh wow, okay, this is really good.
It's interesting that years ago, I remember our former co-host or guest Scotty telling me about a story similar to that he never could quite figure out. Like he had the idea for it, where like he wanted to tell a story about a world where like when you like got to a certain age, something happened where no longer alone, or it was only kids, but he couldn't quite ever figure it out. He could never quite break the story or whatever. So it's interesting to hear that somebody's got something similar that seems to.
Who are Peter Pan's the
Lost Boys?
Yeah, it kind of has a little bit of a Lost Boys feel to it, and with a little Logan's Run thrown in there.
My son is reading the book you mentioned earlier. What was what was the book you just mentioned? Not Peter Pan, before that.
Lord of the Flies.
Lord of the Flies, yeah.
Oh,
He's
yeah,
reading
yeah.
in school now. He's like, this book is messed up. Yeah, it's
man.
Squid Games before there was Squid
Yeah.
Games. Yeah, it is a messed up.
Yeah. William Golding.
I don't remember.
Yeah.
I remember reading it, but I don't.
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
I don't remember.
Yeah. And then watch the original black and white movie, not the redone one. We had to watch the black and white one in high school.
Nice.
Yeah. It was fucked up.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know if I've ever seen it.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Well, I remember it,
I don't know.
from like 30 plus years ago. But yeah. So anyway, maybe watch it and we'll talk about it on ACTV this week.
Oh God.
There's my transition.
There it is.
So check out patreon.com/aroundcomics for all extra Patreon stuff. For at least the immediate future, we're going to shift this here show to Thursday nights on the live feed and probably a Friday release for the podcast, I would imagine.
It's the Friends. We got the Friends slot Thursdays at 8.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Oh wow, we are must see TV now.
Yes.
Yeah, we slotted in right after Cosby. Ooh.
Oh God. Oh no.
That's when that started.
You never want that mentioned about you. That you've been slotted in after Cosby.
So we're gonna do Thursdays for a while. That's all I got. We got a K Billy Super Sounds coming up next week. Not this Sunday.
Not this Sunday, but
we're doing Dust Till Dawn.
I gotta watch that.
I have it right. I had to rearrange. It's around here somewhere. Yeah, I was just reading the back matter.
I cannot promise not to do my Cheech Marin impersonation throughout most of that episode.
No, it's coming.
I remember when that movie came out, and I had the soundtrack on CD, and there's that whole intro of Cheech Marin when they're pulling up to the titty twister, and he's just going through that, and I'm like, I don't know, just being an asshole, and I'm like in a parking lot somewhere, or it was like a drive-through, and I'm just blaring that part so loud.
Yeah.
And I just thought it was funny.
As you would. You were in church.
I would, yeah.
So we'll be doing Dust Till Dawn here in a couple weeks with our buddy Will Pfeiffer. That's all I got, guys. Yeah.
That's
it. We got it? All done?
I think that's all I got.
All right, cool. We'll be back next Thursday to talk about more comic books and comics culture.
Well, wait,
stuff.
Next Thursday is Thanksgiving.
Oh, that's right. Do we want to switch back to Tuesday next week? No, we just I'm good next Tuesday.
Yeah, we could probably do that next Tuesday as opposed to.
So after Thanksgiving, we'll be switching
after
Thanksgiving.
Yeah. So that's right. I'll be in South Bend, Indiana on Thursday.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I know. It's the fun part is that we couldn't get our dogs boarded because we forgot about reserving boarding. So now we have to take all fucking 3 dogs to South Bend with us.
Ooh.
So, yeah.
How the in-laws feel about that?
Better than we do.
Are you staying in a hotel?
No, we're staying at my mother and father-in-law's.
Wow, you and your 3 dogs.
Yeah, they have a big basement. So
there you go.
Yeah,
that's okay.
So dogs will be in the basement. So
the dogs will love it.
No, they're gonna hate it. That's around. Sean Wheatley chimed in next week is around kennels. All right, guys, we'll be back next Tuesday, pre-Thanksgiving episode. In the meantime,
in between time,
we'll be everywhere in
and around conspiracy theories.
Yeah. Lame robots.
Lame
Lame Doctor Who robots.